things off with the big story that burst into the news over the weekend. Someone in China had a big birthday party and lost one of their balloons.
Another major story this morning, the ongoing drama surrounding that Chinese spy balloon shot down off the South Carolina coast this weekend.
As Navy divers search for debris, this video shows what appears to be part of the balloon being brought back to shore Sunday. The balloon, with a payload the size of 3 buses, first entered U.S. airspace over the Aleutian Islands last Tuesday. It moved to Canada, re-entering U.S. airspace over Idaho. Once the balloon reached the Atlantic coast, it was shot down with a single Sidewinder missile from an F-22 fighter jet.
They got it. Boom! I ordered the Pentagon to shoot it down on Wednesday as soon as possible. They decided that the best time to do that was as it got over water.
Wow. Joe Biden really liked giving that announcement. He hopped off his big, strong plane and he walked over with his aviator sunglasses, looking like a real tough guy, popping a balloon. Giving off some serious Top Gun Maverick vibes. The straight kind. Honestly, though, poor Joe Biden. Obama got to order the assassination of bin Laden, and all he gets to do is murder a bag of helium. And as you heard, this balloon was the size of 3 buses. I love measuring things in buses. And for the rich people out there who don't know what a bus is, they're those big yellow vehicles that bring Matt Gaetz's girlfriends to school. The balloon went over Alaska, and then it went through Canada, and then into U.S. airspace. And by the way, Canada, thanks for the heads up on that. Canada saw the balloon, and they were like, oh, look, one of those Chinese lanterns. And I hope that balloon wasn't spying on Canada, because there is nothing suspicious going on there. Unless you want aerial shots of moose getting each other from behind, you can move on. As usual, America went haywire and brought out way too much firepower to address this problem. They brought 2 fighter jets and shot a missile through a balloon. Was that really necessary? Couldn't we have just hired another hot air balloon to float by and shoot it with a BB gun? Or just waited for it to get stuck in a ceiling fan? Did we really need the fighter jets to turn this thing into the world's saddest used condom? But hey, why not shoot it when you have $1 trillion defense budget and all these rock-hard missiles lying around? Trump must be so jealous. What I don't get is, why does China even need to send this balloon in the first place? They're already spying on us with TikTok. Is it possible that the Chinese spies became the first people ever to get sick of TikTok? Were they like, I swear to God, if I see one more basic bitch make lasagna in a slow cooker? China, if you're listening, which you obviously are, next time, why don't you make your balloon the color blue so we can't see it in the sky? Or if you're going to make it white, at least write the moon on it. No one here will know the difference. I certainly won't. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a.k.a. Capitol Storming Barbie, hates her job, which is so funny because the rest of us also hate her having her job.
Becoming a member of Congress has made my life miserable. The nature of this job. It keeps members of Congress and senators in Washington so much of the time, too much of the time, to be honest with you, that we don't get to go home and spend more time with our families, our friends, you know, all in our district, or maybe just be regular people, because this job is so demanding and it's turned into practically year-round.
First of all, you're not a regular person, you moron. You're a congressperson because you campaigned and somehow won, which requires you to work year-round. I also don't want to work year-round, and that's why I don't. To quote Kim K for a second, get your ass up and work. The point is, if you don't like being in Congress, then go work at Foot Locker, bitch. But that's not even the worst part of what she said. This is.
I have people come up to me and say crazy things to me out of the blue in public places that they believe because they read it on the internet.
Well, if that's not the pot calling the kettle QAnon. This woman thought 9/11 was a hoax, that the Clintons killed JFK Jr., and that Jews are in charge of space lasers. But please, don't come at her with some crazy ideas. She might believe them. Here's what Dipsy Doodle had to say about Joe Biden's court appointments.
So the point of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as you often heard, is to wind up with a leadership class that, quote, looks like America. Now, we think you should hire on the basis of merit, but that's kind of an appealing idea. The people who run the country should look like the country. But that's not what it's about at all. Because no administration has ever looked less like America, just by the numbers, than the Biden administration. It's not about making the administration look like America. It's about discriminating against certain classes of people who don't vote for them. Period. And now it's provable. 97 federal judges confirmed under Joe Biden. Total number of white men, 5. 22 are black women. So this is race-based hiring. It's illegal, but it's also not about looking like America.
I wish Tucker Carlson would go back to talking about which M&Ms he likes to f***. What are you even complaining about? Having diversity in power is a dream come true for guys like you. Now you can blame all of your problems on women and black people. Maybe if your inbred fingers could work a calculator, you would see that the reason Biden is nominating so many black women is to make up for having men having a 200-year head start. Even after Joe Biden's appointments, there are only 44 black women serving as federal judges out of 784. I mean, what is this, Wakanda? 44 out of 784, that is not a lot. You need 20 black women just to make up for Clarence Thomas. And this raises a more important question, Tucker, which is, why are you always such a whiny little bitch? All you do is complain, 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 and now I have to spend my time here complaining about you. I could have been up here talking about real issues, like how celebrities were filling up their asses and faces with fat, but now suddenly they're all taking out the fat in their asses and faces. And where does all that fat go, and how do I get in on it? I'm 47, and I need to start figuring out what direction I'm going in. And I wanted to use this time to get some audience feedback on it, but no, now I have to spend my time talking about how you're mad that white men only control almost all of the country. Do you have any idea how hard it is to be a woman? How long am I supposed to keep this charade going and pretend that my face isn't melting in front of everyone's eyes? A man in Singapore is suing a woman for putting him in the friend zone. That's right. He wants $2.3 million because he says her rejection caused him sustained trauma. And this is why I don't date anyone from Singapore. He said getting friend zoned caused him sustained trauma? How hard is this guy masturbating? This would never happen the other way around. Women would never file a lawsuit just because a man ghosted us. No, we would just spread a rumor, you know, that he's got a small penis that's riddled with STDs because we are adults. I just hope this guy doesn't win, because if rejecting losers becomes a crime, I'm looking at a class action lawsuit against myself. Last night was the State of the Union, Washington, D.C.'s biggest non-orgy event of the year. And I'm going to be honest. I have never watched the State of the Union before because I have a life. So I wasn't looking forward to it, but I'm glad I tuned in because it wasn't nearly as boring as I thought it would be. In fact, it's apparently got a bit of a UFC/junior high cafeteria vibe now. Even before the speech started, things started getting rowdy.
There were some tense moments at last night's State of the Union address. Cameras captured a heated exchange between embattled Congressman George Santos and Senator Mitt Romney.
One lip reader posted this account of how the exchange went down.
You ought to be embarrassed. Yeah, sure. You ought to be embarrassed. You ought to be embarrassed. You ought to be embarrassed, son. You got me? That's your opinion. Yes.
I would like to go on the record tonight and say that I am sexually attracted to Mitt Romney. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. I don't even care that he's a Republican or a Mormon. In fact, since he's a Mormon, he'll be open to another wife, and if not, he's a Republican, so he'll be open to having an affair. Problem solved. And yeah, what Romney said doesn't sound too harsh, but remember, it's Mitt Romney. You ought to be embarrassed, son, is the Mormon equivalent of suck my f***ing you pussy-ass bitch. And then when Biden actually started talking, his Republican friends across the aisle were not having it.
Entering a House chamber now run by Republicans, President Biden extending his hand to the new Speaker Kevin McCarthy before confronting Republican heckling head on, tangling over the fate of Social Security and Medicare. The president taking aim at an idea floated by just a few Republicans.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority.
The comment drawing outrage and boos, including from GOP firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Republicans were acting like wild animals, and I liked it. Keep this up, you guys. You finally made a State of the Union watchable. Marjorie Taylor Greene stood up during this speech and screamed out, liar! And then George Santos stood up and is like, over here! What are we going to do about Marjorie Taylor Greene? I mean, she's like one of those dogs that needs a big backyard to run outside and expend all of her energy, but instead, she's stuck living inside a one-bedroom apartment slamming her head against the wall. When are they going to put this woman on Real Housewives of Atlanta? And to be fair, MTG wasn't the only one dressed like a lunatic last night. Look at the outfit Kirsten Sinema chose to wear. She looks like she's going to a quinceañera as the piñata.
You look at Kamala Harris, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it? We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
Maybe if you two weren't such boner killers, women would want to have more children. Make the country miserable. I love this country. It's where all of my things are. And I've got news for everyone. Instead of shaming childless women for what we're doing to the country, you should be thanking us. We are saving society. We are more likely to give our money to charity. We have a lower carbon footprint. We're the reason there are fewer screaming children on airplanes, in movie theaters, and restaurants. Every baby we don't give birth to is one less baby that could grow up to be the next Elon Musk. And guess how many children he has? 9. You better bring them all to Mars with you, buddy, okay? And when are you going to Mars? Go already! Republicans held a hearing about how social media silences conservatives. At least that's what they were trying to prove. The problem is, once Twitter executives started testifying, we found out that lots of complaints came from the big fat baby who used to be president.
Earlier, you testified about a 2019 tweet that was about President Trump. And I think it was from Ms. Teagan. What was the tweet about?
Please excuse my language, this is a direct quote, but Chrissy Teigen referred to Donald Trump as a pussy-ass bitch.
Okay.
From my understanding, the White House reached out to ask that this tweet be removed. At that time, up to 3 insults were allowed, and so it was our job to determine how many insults were included within that phrase.
I love that Twitter had to decide whether pussy-ass bitch was 1 insult or 3. It does beg the question, is Donald Trump a pussy and an ass and a bitch? Or is he just a bitch with pussy-ass qualities? I love when I have to get philosophical. Interesting that Trump doesn't like being called a pussy-ass bitch when those are his 3 favorite things. Either way, asking Twitter to take down a mean tweet about you is really a pussy-ass bitch move. Let's move on to our big international story for the week, the impending Cold War between Joe Biden and Xi and China.
The massive recovery effort now underway. Unmanned underwater vehicles seeking out wreckage from the balloon's huge technology bay, the size of 3 buses. Those vehicles also searching for possible explosives. A senior U.S. official tells me the balloon had a self-destruct capability. As the U.S. collects debris and with it information, China today declaring the airship does not belong to the United States, but to China. The Biden administration making it clear they're not getting it back.
You, China. You sent the balloon over here to spy on us. We found it, and now it's ours. You don't get to demand that we return it, just like the guy who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband doesn't get his hammer back. About you guys, but I'm not scared about the supposed explosive self-destructing capability on a balloon. All balloons have a self-destructing capability. It's called deflating. Also, it doesn't belong to us. I'm sorry, China, but that's confusing, okay? Usually when you release things, it's for the entire world to enjoy, like COVID. Earlier this week, he was roasted at the State of the Union by Utah Senator and Silver Fox Mitt Romney. And apparently, Georgie didn't appreciate it.
Meanwhile, Santos is firing back at Senator Mitt Romney after they clashed at the State of the Union. Romney said Santos should be embarrassed and should have sat in the back and stayed quiet.
It's not the first time in history that I've been told to shut up and go to the back of the room, especially by people who come from a privileged background. And I think it's reprehensible that the senator would say such a thing to me in the demeaning way he said. It wasn't very Mormon of him. That's what I can tell you.
First of all, you can't complain about people coming from a privileged background when you dress like young Sheldon. You're saying that wasn't very Mormon? Mitt Romney is so Mormon that whatever he does is the Mormon thing to do. He is the king of the Mormons. All Mormons are mad at you right now, and as a Jewish person, I'm going to take a leap of faith and speak on behalf of all Jews and say, we're mad at you too. Even the Dalai Lama is like, oh, this motherfucker? I like how he says it's not the first time he's been told to go to the back of the room. It sounded like he was about to say, African Americans like me were told to go to the back for years, but we said no. At the same time, though, George Santos is an absolute bitch, and I love it.
It's a stunt so terrifying, they're calling it death diving. It's extreme belly flopping, and ouch, does it hurt? The higher the jump, the more the clicks. This guy is jumping off a roof into a pool, belly first. This video alone has nearly 44 million views. Watch as she throws herself off of a platform 81 feet in the air. Experts say definitely don't do it.
There's potential for a lot of injuries. They could crack a rib, their internal organs could separate.
This trend was brought to you by White Claw. The preferred drink for white people who want to do stupid shit. And by the the way, I don't want to nitpick the way people are trying to kill themselves, but it's not really a belly flop unless you spread your arms out like this. I see you guys tucking in at the last second. Do you want to separate your internal organs or don't you? I love how experts say, definitely don't do it. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. And by the way, you guys don't have to push things this far to go viral. You can just ski down a mountain topless like I do. That gets plenty of clicks. On the other hand, if all the young, hot, blonde women want a belly flop to their deaths, have fun, because it's less competition for me.